So Joe Douglas did his part. Now it's time for Zach to do his. Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I will be talking about Zach Wilson in a video that's really not so scripted, and not that any of my videos are scripted, but usually I'll come on with some notes and some key points that I want to hit on, but not that this is going to be a rant, but I kind of just had some feelings and thoughts on this and thought, you know what, why don't I just put it into video form and just be a little bit more raw and conversational here. Which is kind of what I'm going to do today. Before I get started, I just want to mention you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the Just Jets podcast. And oh boy, something big coming on the Patreon tomorrow. So know where that is. That's all I'll say for now. All right. So as we all know, Joe Douglas had a very strong draft in 2022. At least on paper. He went out and got Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, Jeremy Ruckert. Like, all five of those guys were picked in the first 3 rounds, which there was some moving around. He obviously ended up with 3 first-round picks. He traded up for Breece Hall. But what I wanted to talk about today is why I think now it's on Zach Wilson. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm very much so a believer in Zach Wilson. He was the guy I wanted coming out of college last year. Obviously, I knew Trevor Lawrence wasn't going to be there, and I would have been okay. If you remember, this is an interesting conversation that we all had at this time last year, or a little before this time last year. I wanted Zach Wilson, but I was not anti-Justin Fields. Moral of the story is this is someone that I was very, very high on and someone that I was clearly okay taking second overall. And I still believe he is talented. And I think when he came back from injury last year, we saw a ton of positives with this kid. He's cut down on the turnovers tremendously, that's a huge step. He seemed much more comfortable in the pocket. He was willing to run a little bit more. Now there's pictures of him out there where he looks like he's in much better shape. Not that he was out of shape, but he's much stronger and built, and it looks like he's grown a little bit, which is all positive things. This is all, I think, again, positive towards his development going forward here. But Joe Douglas did his job at this point, right? Last year, their offensive line was significantly improved, and he traded up for Elijah Vera Tucker, but he improved the one position where there was a major question mark, which is guard. He brought in Laken Tomlinson, who's a Pro Bowl caliber guard. And he's going to play on the left side. Elijah Vera Tucker is going to play right guard. At center, Connor McGovern's been fine. And then you have George Fant, who I think is going to play left tackle, who's very, very good at left tackle. And Mekhi Becton, who, I mean, let's face it, when he was on the field as a rookie, was very, very, very good. And I'm still high on him. I think he's going to be a damn good player. I'm not trading in my Mekhi Becton stock at the moment. So offensive line for them, good. On paper, should be a very good unit. Last year, they were somewhere around like 12th. I believe in the rankings, and I think they could be a top 12-ish, 10, maybe in the back half of the single digits in that range. Maybe I got 8 to 10, 8 to 12 rather, in that range. So that's taken care of. Tight end. My God, did he overhaul that position. So you sign CJ Uzomah, you sign, I almost said Laken Tomlinson again. You sign Tyler Conklin, and then you go out and add Jeremy Ruckert. All 3 of those guys have the ability to not only block, but they are good receivers. And you have Kenny Yeboah, too, who actually looked okay towards the end of last year. But it's not even remotely close to what the room looked like last year. And when you were looking at his just tenure as the Jets general manager, this is the best tight end room the Jets have had during his time. It's the best tight end class or room that this team has had probably since 2008 when you had Dustin Keller and Chris Baker. Like, I don't know. When was the last time that you had a tight end room this good? I mean, Dustin Keller was obviously pretty nice going on for a little bit after that, but it's been a really long time. And you have 3 who I think can play at this level. Running back, go up and trade for Breece Hall. And I understand some people didn't want to trade up for Breece Hall. And I get that. Usually taking a running back that high for a team like the Jets, I wouldn't be a fan of. But when you look at what he's trying to do here, again, they're going to want to try to run the ball a lot. And Breece Hall and Michael Carter is a really nice 1-2 punch. Wide receiver, you drafted Garrett Wilson 10th overall. You brought back Braxton Berrios. There's a lot of B's there. That was hard to say. Brought back Braxton Berrios. who Zach Wilson was tremendously comfortable with. You have Elijah Moore, who you took last year, who was very good for you. And Corey Davis, I think, will bounce back. So your wide receiver room is pretty solid. You did it. Like, this is it. You can't put your young quarterback in a better situation than what the Jets did. I mean, look around at some of these other quarterbacks. Justin Fields, I feel bad for. I genuinely feel bad for Justin Fields because the Chicago Bears put him in a terrible situation. Jacksonville, they spent a crap ton of money, but is their situation as good as what the Jets is? I think it's maybe comparable. Mac Jones went to New England, which obviously that's going to help out a lot when you have the best coach in the league. But from a talent perspective, they lost a lot of key things, and they are having a new offense installed because their offensive coordinator from last year took a head coaching gig out with the Vegas Raiders. Who else is there? Davis Mills with Houston? No, thank you. I'm really all set there. I don't want. I feel bad for him. I don't think they did a very good job of seeing what they have there. But with Zach, where's the excuses? With Sam Darnold, it was the weapons weren't good enough, which is true. The offensive line wasn't good enough, that was also true. And then we found out, I think, that he wasn't good enough. But before that, Geno Smith. I don't consider myself a Geno Smith guy. Wasn't really a fan of the pick, and then wasn't really a fan of his game. But those rosters stunk. With Mark Sanchez, they had a nice team, a very good team his first couple of years, and then took away all of his favorite weapons after that. And the more that Rex got his mitts on that roster, it went down the hill. So this is it. This is the Jets, in a rare time in their history, or at least since I've been around watching, are doing right by their young quarterback. How rare is that to say? It feels like the Jets are doing right by their young quarterback, which again is a major positive. So when I sit here and I say in a podcast or on a show that it's on Zach Wilson now, I don't put that as a negative or that my expectations are too high for Zach. That I don't really think that's the case. I'm not saying you got to throw for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, but you can't look like a bottom 5 quarterback, which again, I thought there were promising signs at the end of his season, but he was a bottom 5 quarterback in the league last year. And now if you go into this year with this roster that's in front of you and you're still playing like a bottom 5 quarterback, well, then you have a big issue at hand. But if he does what I think he's going to do and take that leap up and be a top 20 or in that 15 to 20 range, if he does more than that, that's phenomenal. Obviously, you take that. But I think it's realistic to be like, hey, be somewhere around plus or minus a few, the middle of the pack in some of these key offensive categories. Yards, passing touchdowns. Continue the trend of not turning the ball over. And again, I look at it as in a positive way. Not as oh my God, there's so much pressure on Zach Wilson. If he doesn't succeed, it's all over. That's not really what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say is that the Jets roster around Zach is about as good of a situation that you could put him in based on where he was last year or where this team was last year. They are trending in the right direction. And if he plays well, they'll surprise some people. If they don't, well, that's a conversation for another day. We're not doing that today. But what I mean by it's on Zach Wilson now is that he has to take the next step. That's all. And I think he does. So let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on the Jets after the draft, your thoughts on Zach Wilson going forward. You still high on Zach Wilson? You should be. You should still be high on Zach Wilson. Let me know. Sound off in the comments. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll talk to you next time.